Located on 225 acres in Garden City, Long Island, Nassau Community College, a member of the State University of New York system, has close to 20,000 students attend the school each year. The college mascot is Leo the Lion, and these are his stories of the school's absolute best and brightest who have graduated over the past 50 plus years. So let's catch up together as the Alumni Association of Nassau Community College proudly presents Lion Tales on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Welcome to Lion Tales. My name is Dr. Lynnda Nadien, and I am a director on the board of the Alumni Association at Nassau Community College and a proud Nassau Community College graduate. Together, let's celebrate the successes of our alum and share stories that will inspire, uplift, and hopefully amuse you. Each week, I will introduce you to one of our alumni who will share their Nassau Community College experience and the secrets to their success after graduation. Our Alumni Association is looking forward to many events in the near future, and we hope that you check us out on the Nassau Community College Alumni Association pages on Facebook, Instagram, and our webpage. If you have any positive news you would like to share about alumni happenings, we would love to hear from you on our website at ncc.edu/alumni. Today, our distinguished guest is Dr. Rita Langdon, a proud alum of Nassau Community College and currently serves as the Acting Vice President of Institutional Advancement at Nassau Community College. Dr. Langdon has an incredible history of work that includes a family that settled in the town of Hempstead in the 1600s, and they even have a street named after the family located in Lynbrook, New York. She is the historian for the Post Cereal Company and Postum Limited, as well as E.F. Hutton and Marjorie Merriweather Post. Dr. Langdon attended Nassau Community College in 1985 and will explain her graduation date of 2017 as a side note. She is a digital information scientist and researcher. Welcome to Lion Tales, Dr. Rita Langdon, class of 2017. So welcome, and tell us about your decision to attend Nassau Community College and what was happening way back when.
Well, first I want to thank you, Lynnda, for having me here today to talk about the career, my education, and how I ended up where I am, and how I started here in the 1980s, but didn't end up graduating until December 2017.
Wow.
So I'll just give you a little background on that. I was a student here out of high school, and I went to Memphis High School in Belmore, and my grades weren't the greatest. So I ended up facing June was graduation in 1985, and everyone was going to college. Everyone was going to Princeton. People were going to become medical doctors, and I did not have the greatest SAT scores. So what was I going to do? And my mother said, you really need to go to Nassau Community College. I come from a family that had very little means. My father was one of 11, and his father died when he was 4, so there was no welfare back then. So he was raised in poverty in Lynbrook. And my mom was the daughter of immigrants from Germany and France, and also had little money. So while my parents did graduate college, no one in my family had gone to college, nor could my mother or father guide me in what to do.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's very similar to me. I mean, it just wasn't something that was done. And I graduated high school in 1984, and I thought, well, I knew about Nassau. I'm not really sure how I knew about it, but it was something, and I knew that I wanted to go to college. I knew that I was definitely, even though I wasn't the greatest student at the time. Now I think I'm a very good student, but I wasn't then. Now I kind of take it more seriously maybe, or I'm just more relaxed. And so I try to think of things as a challenge where before I was more fearful of it.
Yeah, so we may have been in classes together and not even known it. I keep running into people and they'll say something very familiar, and I'll say, wait, you went to Nassau too?
Yeah.
And it's just an incredible familiarity with this campus and the growth and the potential it's given to all of us.
Right.
So I was a very unconventional high school student,
right,
because my parents didn't have funds. My father was laid off. My mom was a homemaker. I started on a work program in high school. So when I was 16 years old, I was working in Mineola for Anton Community Newspapers. And I became an editor at age 17 of the Hicksville Illustrated News. And then when I was 18, I saved up whatever little money I could. And my mom said, go to Nassau. You've got to do something with college, but we don't know how to help you. So if I had the tuition, I would go to college. If I didn't, I couldn't pursue here. So I was full-time at Nassau and eventually dropped down to part-time because I couldn't afford the tuition.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that's really, something to be said, because we were speaking about how Nassau provided weekend classes and evening classes, and it was much more affordable. So some students could come full or part-time at the time. And now, we're going into this 2023 already, 23 years into the 21st century, and you see the evolution of the college. It's really incredible. What were some of your favorite courses that you had?
Well, I took pretty much the full load of everything you would take. The most memorable courses to me that I love were English, journalism, political science. I took astronomy, and I was in North Hall, South Hall, and in Bradley Hall a lot.
Yeah, I remember that as a lot. North and South over here to the left of this campus. Do you remember having human sexuality?
I did. I took the infamous human sexuality class. It was a 5:15 or 5:45 class in the physical education building that became all the controversy. And I did take that.
And was that, remember, was that Professor Hiddleman?
Was it a female professor?
It was a man.
I had a female professor.
Yeah, we had Professor Hiddleman. He was a man. And then I remember abnormal psych.
I had that as well.
And then regular psych. And then sociology. We had Professor Wise. Do you remember him?
Not so much. My favorite professor was Jack Schwartzman from the English department.
Yeah, a lot of the alum, we remember the class, but we couldn't remember the professor's name for whatever reason. We just remember saying professor, and then you probably didn't say the last name,
right?
Which is so funny. So the work that you did, now you have completed your dissertation, obviously, and when we say that you graduated in 2017, we'll explain that, even though you went in 85.
Correct. So I will explain that. So after I had transferred out of Nassau between the CW Post campus, which is now LIU Post in Brookville, I transferred back and forth 3 times between Nassau and Post, and I really loved the Nassau Community College education I received. So eventually, I was taking the classes that you take in the summer at Nassau because they were so convenient. They had 6 o'clock in the morning classes and the night classes, very, very convenient. So eventually, it was becoming to the point where the CW Post folks said, you can't do that. You can't keep transferring back to a 2-year college. You have to complete your residency at a 4-year school. So I was at that point, I must have been at Nassau for a good 3 years at that point. So finally I had to finish up. Took me between my associate's degree and my bachelor's, it took me 7 years to complete both of them. And then about 2 years ago, I received a note from, it was either the Alumni Association or the Foundation of Nassau Community College, asking for people to serve on the board or to donate. And I called over to the registrar and I said, I want to participate and I want to give back, but I must say I didn't technically graduate, so I don't classify as an alumna. And they said to me, let us check your records. And it turned out I was short 1 credit for a bowling class I didn't complete at Garden City Bowl. So they waived the 1 phys ed credit for me, and then I did officially graduate in December 2017.
Okay, a lot of us had the bowling course, and that was one of our favorite ones. And I remember really learning how to bowl, because bowling is a sport, and who knew? You thought you just went to the bowling alley and hung out, but it was actually something to be learned about, how to keep score and where to stand and how to hold the bowling ball. So I'm glad they gave you credit for that. That's really amazing. You were listening to Lion Tales on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I am your host, Dr. Lynnda Nadien, and our guest today is Dr. Rita Langdon, Nassau Community College class of 2017, and currently serving as the acting vice president of institutional advancement at Nassau Community College. So what exactly does the Vice President of the Institutional Advancement at Nassau Community College do? What is that job description?
It's a very all-encompassing leadership position at the college. So I handle and oversee the marketing communications for Nassau Community, fundraising, scholarships, the grants that the college received. In fact, it just received this year $14 million in grants to grow our enrollment and to grow new programs to help the community in different diversified career paths, which is really exciting. So we're going to be offering not only our traditional programs in liberal arts, but also in the professional areas of HVAC, welding, electrician, as well as new programs we have in cybersecurity and community mental health caseworker program. So I promote those programs. I fundraise to get scholarships so students who are similar to what my background was didn't have the money to afford to come here. So my goal is to raise funds for those students. And to help the community as much as I can, and and just promote the reputation of the college. I believe it can be the best community college in the country. When I attended in the 80s, everyone said Nassau Community College was the best in the country because the faculty were stellar, and I can attest to that. They changed my life. The faculty here, they listened, they were supportive, they were patient. There's an unparalleled reputation of this school and the support that you get.
Yeah, and I feel too, whenever I come back to the campus, I feel that bit of happiness because it really did, at the time, it really was a place where I felt that I belonged and I was allowed to have a really stellar educational experience where maybe if I would have gone to a 4-year, I wouldn't have had that. And being in other places such as, Hofstra University or St. John's University and moving into that area, I always come back to that love of Nassau Community College, just walking on the campus. I think we spoke about the other night, too, about Roy Rogers and
right. So because
bringing that back.
Because I was a commuter, so and I was an executive editor of a newspaper, as I was saying before, at age 17, I was commuting. I went to the newspapers in Mineola at 7 in the morning when they opened. I commuted back to Nassau at 9 for a 9 a.m. class. At around 11, I'd head over to the Roy Rogers or the Brick Cafeteria or the Student Union, which I think had a pizza place in it or something at the time, just to nourish myself, to run back to the newspapers, and then I would go to it was either 5:15 or 5:45 p.m. class. At Nassau, and then I would go. I was a reporter, so I covered a lot of town meetings, village meetings, and school board meetings. So it was a full day every day for me. I was doing that full time for a long time until I got married in the middle of it, and I couldn't keep it up. So eventually, I went to Nassau part time. So that's how I accomplished it.
Talk a bit about your work as a researcher and an archivist, and explain what does an archivist actually do, and how would you explain that to a common person listening? What exactly that is?
I'm an accidental historian. When I was a student at Nassau Community College, I took a class with a political science professor. He was adjunct, and he taught us to read from cover to cover and to analyze U.S. News and World Report. And he also looked at all of the wars, World War I, World War II. And for the first time, I was a sponge and I could remember the dates. I could understand the American history. As a result of that, when it came time for me to during the millennium, when the year Y2K, year 2000,
yeah.
Right. I said to the provost of where I was working at CW Post, at that point I was the assistant provost for marketing communications, and I said, let's bury a time capsule, which will, by the way, be opened in about 25 years or 30 when I'm in my 80s. And we buried a time capsule, and I put in all the information regarding the sororities, the fraternities, the clubs, the activities, the student newspaper, all the different archival materials. And then I didn't know that there was preservation aspects to it, and we had to seal it perfectly tight. So I started taking classes in archival preservation. So if you have old newspapers, old photographs, they have to be preserved, or nowadays they're digitized.
Right.
So I worked with both things where you have to put the white gloves on and carefully pick up old photos from the 1800s and old newspaper clippings that fall apart in your hands and learn how to preserve those. And the most modern way to do it is by scanning and digitizing everything. So I've been doing a lot of research with the Library of Congress, and I'm involved with a lot of genealogy for my own family for things, and so preservation is like key to all we do.
Right.
So
what about preservation of artifacts that, let's say, a plate? Like my grandmother had a plate from it. I mean, I'm thinking it's about 100 years old, and I'm looking at it. There's nothing on it to tell me that, but knowing when she was born and knowing when they came to America and all of these sort of milestones, I'm assuming the plate or the bowl must have some type of worth or connection to the culture. And how do we find that out?
Well, there are professional. I've gone to professional archivists and historians and antique dealers who know the history. Luckily, I work with the Palmer School of Library and Information Science, and the professor who testifies before the Library of Congress is the world's most foremost expert in archival materials, including three-dimensional objects like you're describing. I also have a broken plate from the incinerator of the Marjorie Merriweather Post estate from her fine china, and it's valuable to a degree, and they become heirlooms. Sometimes people donate them. I just before I came to Nassau, I'd gotten Egyptian artifacts that we donated to the Metropolitan Museum of Art. They have places like that because sometimes families move and they throw away something very valuable. So I've had my friend bring artwork to the Antique Roadshow and appeared on that, or I'll call a museum. I usually call a museum or the Library of Congress.
Yeah, we were able to visit Elvis's childhood home in Tupelo, Mississippi, and his fan club president at the time had an immense collection of Elvis memorabilia and artifacts, and she donated it to Tupelo. So when you go to see the house, it's a little teeny tiny house, but you go on this little tour, and inside the house is this beautiful museum that they made, and she's able to put all of her memorabilia and everything she collected as a fan on display. And to me, it's just an amazing thing, because where else would that be? It might just be stuck in her attic, or in a place where the public couldn't view it. So sort of like the Hall of Fame, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland, it's the same thing. Can people donate artifacts, and even to the Smithsonian, that they feel is worth it, so that the public can view that? Is that something that can be done? It
can be done, but sometimes you'll be turned away. We recently had a donation of these Egyptian artifacts, and I happen to be friends with two very authorities on the art of that era, of an Egyptologist and another art professor, and the donor came in and said, "My brother willed these to me. I don't know what they are." We looked at them. Out of about 50 objects, only one was valuable. The rest were trinkets. Turned out to be trinkets that were sold on a tourism market. So and then usually in a situation like that, you need an appraiser.
Right,
that
to
the
come in.
estate owner would pay for someone to come in and appraise it. There's plenty of appraisers out there.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I mean, I know at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I know John Lennon's Sgt. Pepper outfit was there, and when you look at the outfits, they were handmade by Millings in London, and they're beautiful to touch. You know, but they're smaller than they look. But luckily, it's able to be there so that people can kind of see that for the rest of time, as long as they have the museum set up. That's like one artifact or that they had donated that I thought was so amazing for the public to be able to see.
And while you're on that topic, I am going to be putting together the history of Nassau Community College, which was founded in 1959. And I am looking for alumni to donate photos of the campus, because we are the original Mitchell Field Air Force Base, and we are going to chronicle it because we have an historic part of this campus. We're actually sitting in a building that was the original hospital for the Mitchell Air Force Base, and so I'm looking for people to donate, to scan photos, all of those, and even artifacts, pins that they have, uniforms that they may have gotten from someone, because now's the time. A lot of these people were here and served in World War II, and time's running out, so we need to chronicle that.
You are listening to Lion Tales on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I am your host, Dr. Lynnda Nadien, and our guest today is Dr. Rita Langdon, Nassau Community College class of 2017, and currently serving as the acting vice president of institutional advancement at Nassau Community College. So we were just speaking about your work as an archivist and that you're planning to write this book, and you're looking for actually memorabilia and or photographs dealing with Nassau, because as we know, World War II, let's say my father-in-law is turning 90, this generation is in their 90s now that may have served or served post World War II. And how would we find some of those collectibles, and what are we looking to do with this book?
I wrote a similar book for CW Post College, which was founded in 1954, and I just put out a call on websites, and I'm going to be working with the Alumni Association, of which you are a member, in getting the word out on social media. I just liked the Facebook page for Mitchell Field buffs, and I'm hoping I'm getting settled because I've only been here for 5 weeks.
Yeah.
But I hope to be able to put out a call and a continual call to folks to that we would cherish, and we have beautiful display cases on this campus that we can eventually use. So they can contact me. I'll tell you my email.
Right, yeah, we will get to that.
Okay.
Yeah, so we can have contact information. It's really amazing because the history is so rich, and I like what you were saying about the professor saying reading U.S. News and World Report, and then that you were interested then in the history of World War I and then World War II. I mean, I think we need to know history in order to teach it. And I think that that's something that maybe the country's lacking, that like the real knowledge base of what Mitchell Field was. Historically, Nassau Community College has been here for so long. We do have some alum from going back to the mid-'60s and then the late 60s, and it was really different at that time. They didn't have all these buildings, and it wasn't the same as it was. So to get to know that history, I think, is really incredible. And it's very powerful because it will help you in your position bring the school to the next level. What are your goals to bring the school to that level?
Well, I am interested in promoting the we're up to about 65 associate's degrees. Wow. We just increased our certificate programs by another 5, so we're at 25 certificate programs. So I'm just looking to promote the college's faculty, its students, its history, its preparation for the next world of our workforce, the workforce development, because things are changing. And I am so impressed. I meet students every day. They continue to wow me with their just the way they want to move forward in their careers and their enthusiasm, and they're engaged. We have a really great Student Government Association president who's
Absolutely,
so involved, and I can relate to these students. We have ceremonies on campus; they're all at them, and I just love sharing with them the experience I had here. I feel I'm the ambassador, and I need to eventually impart my wisdom and my background to them so they can be for the next generation to move the college's reputation forward.
Yeah, you think about being here in the mid-'80s, and you didn't really know what the future held. Kind of deep down, you may have thought, well, I'm going to pursue certain things, and you were able to make that become a reality. And I think that's what students need to know, that it's not out of their reach. And that really starting here gives you this like really strong foundation to pursue those particular goals in life, educational or not.
Oh, this college really solidifies you and puts you on whatever path you choose. When I went to Nassau, I thought I was going to. First, I was a business major. Then I was a psychology major. Then I was working as an investigative journalist. And I was all over the map, but I knew everything that I was learning would be applicable. So they always say, jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm doing here in my role as acting vice president of institutional advancement. I have my hands in everything. I was so excited walking into this radio station.
Yeah.
This college radio station has a lot of history and a lot of famous guests, and it's exciting, and it's up for another Marconi Award. It's just award winning, and it's happening right in our backyard.
Yeah, it's amazing. And just walking through, being down here, it's sort of like ooh, because the spirits have lived. And World War II, this was an area where they treated injuries, and there was a lot of medical facilities back here that they're actually redoing to make more of a studio area, so we would have that studio area.
And we have the Museum Row with the Cradle of Aviation Museum as our neighbor, the Children's Museum. This is, I mean, the hangar over here is where incredible. We registered for classes. I
remember that. Yeah, it's just amazing.
You come in like, oh, okay, it's an airplane hangar. Okay, we'll go with it.
I would like to thank our guest, Dr. Rita Langdon, Nassau Community College class of 2017, and currently serving as the Acting Vice President of Institutional Advancement at Nassau Community College. How can our listeners contact you?
Well, my email is Rita, R-I-T-A, .Langdon, Langdon, at ncc.edu. But you definitely can find me on LinkedIn. And you can direct message me there under Rita Langdon on LinkedIn. That's the best way to reach me. And that's also a great venue where I put a lot of news and events and exciting history items that'll be coming out of Nassau in the upcoming months.
Absolutely. I would like to thank you for being our guest today. My name is Dr. Lynnda Nadien, and I serve as a director on the board of the Nassau Community College Alumni Association, and I am a proud Nassau Community College alumni. Visit ncc.edu/alumni for more information about the Nassau Community College Alumni Association, and visit nccradio.org for more information about Lion Tales, including podcasts of past shows. Thanks for listening to Lion Tales here on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.